Sarah's first day at the new high school began quietly. She had moved from her family's small farm just a week earlier, and the city felt too loud, too busy, too unfamiliar. Dressed in her plain denim jacket and carrying a simple cloth backpack, she walked down the hallway while other students laughed in groups and scrolled through their phones. She kept her head low, clutching her schedule tightly, hoping no one would notice how nervous she was. But someone did notice: Jake, the school's self-proclaimed king. He was tall, confident, and always surrounded by friends who laughed at every word he said. When he saw Sarah's worn shoes and old-fashioned clothes, his lips curled into a grin. "Hey, look, it's Little House on the Prairie," he shouted, loud enough for everyone to hear. The hallway erupted in laughter. Sarah froze, her face turning red, but she said nothing. She just kept walking, her heart pounding. At lunch, she sat alone at a corner table, unpacking a sandwich wrapped neatly in wax paper. The cafeteria buzzed with noise, but no one came near her. Then, out of nowhere, Jake appeared again, carrying his tray of fries. "So, farm girl," he said mockingly, "do you milk cows for breakfast or just talk to them?" His friends snickered. Sarah smiled faintly, her voice calm. "Sometimes both," she said softly, and returned to eating. The casual confidence in her tone made Jake frown. He wasn't used to his jokes falling flat. Later that day, in science class, the teacher asked for volunteers to help clean up the lab equipment. No one raised a hand except Sarah. As she carefully arranged beakers and test tubes, Jake, bored and restless, fiddled with a Bunsen burner and accidentally broke a flask. The teacher turned just in time to see the mess and scolded him sharply. "Jake, you know better," she snapped. Jake tried to deny it, but Sarah quietly stepped in. "It's okay, I can clean it up," she said. She didn't defend him, but her calm tone eased the tension. The teacher smiled at her kindness and gave her extra credit for helping. Jake glared, humiliated. The new girl had made him look bad, without even trying. That night, Jake couldn't stop thinking about it. His friends teased him, saying the farm girl was making him look soft. His pride burned. He decided he'd teach her a lesson, something she'd never forget. The next morning, as he passed Sarah's locker, an idea came to him when he overheard two older students whispering about a small bag of pills they were trying to sell. Jake wasn't interested in drugs, but he saw an opportunity. Later that day, he stole the bag from one of them while pretending to joke around. He didn't plan to use it, he had something else in mind. At lunch, he waited until Sarah went to throw away her trash. Her backpack sat unattended on the bench. He walked over, pretending to tie his shoe, and with one smooth motion, slipped the small plastic bag into the front pocket of her bag. His heart raced, but no one noticed. Moments later, the principal's voice echoed through the cafeteria speakers, "Attention, everyone. There will be a random bag check in the cafeteria." Jake's grin spread wide. The timing couldn't have been better. He sat down and watched as teachers moved from table to table, checking bags. When they reached Sarah, she smiled politely and handed hers over. The teacher unzipped the front pocket, and froze. The small bag of drugs glinted under the fluorescent light. The cafeteria fell silent. Everyone stared. Jake leaned back in his chair, pretending to look surprised. "Whoa, Sarah, I didn't think she had it in her," he whispered to his friend, loud enough for others to hear. Sarah's eyes widened in shock as the teacher called the principal over. She tried to speak, but her voice trembled. I don't know what that is. It's not mine." But the whispers had already started spreading. Jake smiled to himself, convinced his plan had worked perfectly. He didn't know that Sarah, quiet as she seemed, was far smarter and calmer than he had ever imagined, and that his cruel trick was about to turn against him in ways he couldn't see coming. The principal's office felt colder than usual as Sarah sat across from the large wooden desk, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The small plastic bag sat on the table between her and Principal Reynolds, its presence heavy and accusing. The principal's face was stern but not unkind. "Sarah," he said slowly, "this is a very serious matter. Are you sure you've never seen this before?" Sarah shook her head. "I swear, sir, I don't even know what it is. I would never bring something like that to school." Her voice was steady, though her heart was pounding. Reynolds leaned back in his chair, studying her face. He had seen all kinds of students, the ones who lied, the ones who panicked, the ones who broke down immediately. Sarah was different. There was no fear of being caught, only confusion and hurt. "I'll have to contact your parents," he said finally, "and until we can figure this out, you'll be suspended from class." A tear rolled down her cheek, but she nodded. "I understand." As she left the office, whispers followed her like shadows. In the hallway, people pointed and murmured. "She seemed so quiet," someone said. "Guess you can't tell by looking." Sarah tried to ignore them, but each word pierced deeper. She spotted Jake by his locker, pretending to be shocked as his friends whispered and laughed. His expression of fake concern only made her stomach turn. That night, sitting in her small bedroom, she stared at her backpack, the same one she'd carried to school every day since middle school. She thought about every moment from that day. When could it have happened? Her mind replayed everything. The cafeteria, the moment she dropped her fork, and then, she remembered. Jake had helped her pick up her things when she spilled them. Her bag had been opened then. Her breath caught. It made sense now. But she had no proof, and her word against his wouldn't be enough. She had seen the way the teachers looked at her, with doubt. She needed evidence. That's when she remembered the small detail that changed everything. Before school started, she had sat on a bench near the side entrance, right under a security camera, while organizing her notebooks. Her bag had been with her the entire time. Maybe, just maybe, that camera had caught something. The next morning, she returned to school, not to attend class but to speak with Principal Reynolds. "Sir," she said quietly but firmly, "I think the security cameras might show what really happened." He raised an eyebrow. "You think there's footage that proves your innocence?" "Yes, sir. Near the side entrance. Around 8 o'clock. I was sitting there before class started." Reynolds hesitated but eventually nodded. He called the school security officer to pull up the footage. The three of them watched as the video played. There was Sarah, sitting quietly, writing something in her notebook. Then, minutes later, Jake appeared in the frame, walking casually past her bag. The footage showed him stopping, glancing around, and then, when no one was looking, slipping something small into her backpack pocket. Sarah gasped softly, relief and disbelief washing over her. The principal's face hardened. "That's enough," he said grimly. But Sarah wasn't finished. "There might be more," she said. "If you check the cafeteria camera too." Reynolds nodded, and soon, they had the full picture. Jake pretending to tie his shoe beside Sarah's bag, his hand moving swiftly and secretly. It was undeniable. When the principal called Jake into the office later that afternoon, he tried to act confused, but the color drained from his face the moment the footage appeared on the screen. I don't know what that is," he stammered. "Save it," the principal said sharply. "You planted illegal substances in another student's bag. Do you realize the seriousness of this?" Jake dropped his gaze, the arrogance gone from his voice. I wanted to embarrass her. I didn't mean for it to go that far." Sarah watched him quietly. There was no satisfaction in her eyes, only disappointment. "You could have ruined my life," she said softly. "All because you wanted to feel powerful." The principal suspended Jake immediately and called his parents. As Sarah left the office, the whispers that followed her were different this time, quieter, ashamed. She had faced lies, humiliation, and betrayal, but she had stood strong and let the truth speak for itself. That night, back at the farm, Sarah sat under the stars, the same calmness in her heart that had carried her through everything. Her father sat beside her on the porch, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Proud of you, kiddo," he said. She smiled faintly. "I just did what was right." And somewhere, in the quiet of that wide-open sky, Sarah knew the battle wasn't about proving herself innocent. It was about showing that honesty, courage, and calm would always outsmart cruelty.